Hello and welcome to the All-Rounder Performance Podcast with myself, Damien Schechter. I just want to say a massive thank you for joining us on today's episode. I'm the head coach of the All-Rounder Athlete Program, and my mission is to help people across the globe in delivering as much knowledge, expertise, and experience to help people change their health, their mindset, and their physical well-being. Without further ado, let's head straight into this episode. And once again, thank you for joining. Hello and welcome to the All-Rounder Performance Podcast with myself, Damien Schechter. Today I have a very special guest, someone I've been secretly man-crushing on Instagram for the past year. But no, in all seriousness, I'm really excited to introduce Kristian to the podcast. And we're definitely going to be diving into a lot of really awesome topics today. So thank you so much for being here and let's dive right in.
Well, mate, thanks very much for having me on, man. It's funny to be here. Like, I never thought I'd be in a podcast studio in Canggu. I don't know, like
Yeah,
if you would have been like that to me a couple of years ago, you're going to be recording a podcast with someone
yeah,
in Canggu. I'd have been like that. Nah.
yeah,
What's a Canggu?
yeah.
It's awesome, man. But, mate, thanks for having me on. And, mate, I've been the same, man, for the past year or so. I've always been like, this guy's a good guy, and we've connected back and forward a few times, mate. So I'm looking forward to a good wee chat with you. But do you want me just to introduce myself as normal?
Yeah, please. So I think what would be a great, place to start is obviously you and I have followed each other on Instagram. I think one of the reasons why I actually wanted to organize this with you today is because the people that I want to get on board the podcast are essentially people that have either inspired me or, I've gotten really good content from them and I've learned something from them. At the same time, you and I align on a lot, not just from, I think, a business perspective, but also from an athletic perspective. We share a lot of similarities when it comes to, kind of the training and the endurance and aerobic work that we've, recently done. So
Mm.
I thought it'd be really cool for us to come on here and connect. But I think before we obviously dive into that, give everyone a little bit of a background as to, who you are, where you're from, what's your story.
So for anyone, I don't even know where the listeners would be from this. Would be from all over, man. But
Yeah.
from my accent, you probably tell I'm Scottish. 29 years old. I'm actually 30 this month, which is crazy. Like again, something that's just came around in a flash. But I've been a coach for 7 years. This is year 7 of doing this right now, which is again crazy. It's just going in so bloody quick. In my background, the funny thing is I wasn't a sporty athletic person
Mm.
growing up. I really was not. Like I was actually signed up with a new coach last week, and he was doing the consultation form, and it was asking like what's your background in sport? And I was like, well, I was the guy that was soft and slow at
Yeah.
school. Like I wasn't overweight or anything, but I was like unathletic. You know, when like a lot of people like the young guys like growing up, they maybe had like abs before they even trained. That was not me. Like I was
Right.
like totally like I wasn't that interested in team sport. So I just had this sort of like identity from like a young age that I just thought that was it. And then it wasn't until I joined the forces when I was 17 that I started to kind of like look after myself. I say look after myself a bit better. I was drinking and partying all the time, but I started training and I
Right.
started to look different basically, and I started operating a little bit different, and then that kind of triggered me to becoming a coach later down the line because that's a whole other podcast. Being quite unhappy in the military and stuff, but became a coach, and my sort of background now is like to where I'm at is like started off as a PT in the gym selling time basically to now running a fitness company called Ready for Anything, and we help your average person who doesn't want to settle for average like really go to the next level, and achieve excellence in every single aspect across the board and help people do really cool things. But one of the things I don't want it to, because one of the things like I'm not just like yourself, it's not just about primarily aesthetics, like there's
Yeah.
more to it than that. But the thing that I've realized is that when it comes to the full event thing, it's the same dilemma you run into
Mm.
with aesthetics. There's a glass ceiling
Sure.
because people just make it about that, and that's one of the things that with Ready for Anything, certainly over the past 6 months, me and my head coach have been talking about this a lot. Is like it's not just about an event because we are starting to see that people we're not an event prep company.
Right.
Like we're a company
Yeah.
that helps people level up and be a fucking better person. But it was almost becoming that like, oh, like I'll get in touch with you next year. Like that same way
Mm.
when someone's like, I'm going to get the
I'm gonna
gym
start on
first.
Monday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when it like it's like you're sitting going, no, like it's not about that. So like that's what we're doing now, and like I've got some on a bit of a mission with it at the moment. Like I really feel like we actually rebranded and started this in February this year, and since then it's been all systems going. It's really we've got an incredible community, and yeah, and that's like from a sort of my background there, and like personally, I kind of touch base on that, but I'm here right now. We're here for 3 weeks in Canggu. We absolutely love it in Bali here.
Yeah.
We're
Welcome
we're
to Bali.
yeah, man. We're here for At the start of the year, it's awesome. It's such a good place.
Yeah.
It's so good for. We were talking about this before. There's so many things that we've spoken about as well,
Yeah,
Damien,
yeah,
that are
yeah.
like, save that for the podcast.
Yeah,
We
literally.
were nearly sitting in silence in that cafe before this, going, right, stop talking. But
Yeah.
the thing about this place and what I love about it, and it's why it probably depicts me really well and kind of describes me, is that it's the perfect balance of fitness, training,
Yeah.
networking, like food,
Yeah.
coffee culture, business,
Loads of sunshine.
loads of sunshine,
Yeah.
like great people.
Hmm.
It's got everything. And
Yeah.
it's like, and there's a little bit of partying. If you want to party, you can
Yeah.
party too. Like, and I think
Any
that's,
day of the week.
yeah, like any day of the week, it's like, and it's like a fine balance, man. It's like a fine wine, Changu.
Yeah.
Maybe like a bit of a dirty wine, man. Like,
Yeah, this place doesn't sleep. That's the
yeah,
thing, right? Like, you know, normally if you're back home, Monday to Friday you're working, Saturday, Sunday is when like everyone goes out, but this is a holiday destination. And, when I came here, the amount of self-control that I needed to practice to like not go out on a Tuesday night or like not go out on a Wednesday, because while I could, I had work. Like I still treat my job as a Monday to Friday,
yeah,
job. So, just when you're in a holiday destination, it can be very easy to like almost get caught up in
yeah,
what everyone else is doing here.
yeah, yeah. No, I can relate to that. And we had a really, really good catch up last night, and my partner Rayleigh was there as well. And I actually said to Damien today, I was quite triggered after it
Mm,
because I realized that like we travel a lot and we're on the move a lot. But one thing I realized is that that sort of being in the rat race, I was almost I realized I had been back in it. And like, I was just realizing that shit, man, like I've actually fell back into that chasing things
yeah,
and just been so infatuated by work that I've actually not. I have been prioritizing myself, like
yeah,
obviously my health, like, but I've not. I've been focusing primarily too much on that, which is not a bad thing.
yeah, for sure.
But it was like just we had a really good chat last night, and I came away quite triggered, like feeling a bit like sort of like
That
not.
wasn't my intention.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
no. And this is what I said to Damien. It wasn't even like it was like he was telling me anything or saying anything. It's see when you're in the right. I always say to my clients that you need to be in the right rooms. You need to be getting into the right rooms with the right people. And it's like when you get in the right rooms with the right people, it changes the way that you see things and it
Sure.
reminds you and it's just a perspective. And it was good because like today, like we actually like just woke up, had an incredible morning. And I think also that didn't help the fact that we've been sleep deprived
Yeah,
for like 3 days. So this is the first day that we actually slept for like 7 hours. And then we woke up at nice and early, and we really value our mornings as well.
yeah.
Like I fucking value that is we only live the same day over and over.
Mm,
And like and if your day is like subpar from the get-go, it's like to me, I'm like, it doesn't have to be like a 5 hour morning routine. Do you know what I mean? I always joke and say singing Kumbaya,
yeah,
sniffing sea
yeah.
salt, like, having like pink
Dancing
felt.
around the sun, moon, and stars.
Yeah. But like I just value getting up and getting after it, man, and like having a bit of momentum first thing in the morning. And I didn't really have that. We trained, but it was like later in the day, and I
Yeah,
felt like I was catching my tail. And it really made me think about like when I'm coaching clients and I'm speaking to them about this, and I'm like how can people not see that the simple answer is go to fucking bed earlier
yeah,
and wake up fucking earlier?
yeah. That's it. Simple.
Simple.
Simple. And also, I think it comes down to cultivating the life that you want to live,
Yes.
right? Like, I get enough comments since I've come to Bali of people saying, living your best life, or, oh, geez, man, must be so nice. And I'm just like, look, I'm just escaping the status quo here. That's all I'm actually doing. Like, I'm just not living my life around things that are not actually like people have, I think, their priorities in a different order to what I have mine. I still work, I still train, I still eat, but I'm focused more on my well-being more than my sense of just work, 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 work.
Yeah.
And like, how that is generally, I think, perceived by a lot of people that follow me on Instagram or like have seen this transitionary phase of me going from high performance Dubai to, all of a sudden low key, very relaxed jungle Bali. It's, oh my gosh, like Damon's really living his best life. And I mean, yeah, sure, but I don't like to put it like that. It's really just me actually moving away from what everyone else is doing and what everyone is sucked into at the moment.
Yeah.
Like a dream for me, it was to cultivate a life where I have a lot of sunshine, I'm outdoors, I have a great sense of community with like-minded individuals, I eat healthy food, and these are actually all things that anyone can do. You and I spoke about this. Like anyone has that opportunity to leave the rat race. Sure, I understand that if you are a father of 3 kids, you've got a wife, you have a business, you know, But there are other ways of cultivating that dream life by spending a little bit more time outside, by putting boundaries in place, by making sure that you're making the right choices when it comes to what you're doing in your free time. And I think a lot of people in the Western world are very stuck in that way of living.
Yeah,
And, this was obviously one of the reasons why, we discussed last night me wanting to put a retreat together,
yeah,
in the new year, because I want to introduce a lot of people that I personally know that are stuck in that to this way of living because
yeah.
it's possible to live like this.
Isn't that again like we were having that conversation last night, and it's hard to understand something when you haven't lived it,
Yeah.
and that's what I was really talking about even last night, having that conversation. It's like, those conversations you kind of walk away with, and you're like, there's so many. I get it all the time with clients say to me, and that's not in a big headed way where like I maybe meet them, we have a session together, we get some food, we go a walk, and they walk away and they're like, whoa,
Yeah.
they're like, that's fucking blew my mind, and I'm like, what? And they're
Mm.
like, well, what did I say?
Yeah.
But it's just
Yeah.
it's the way that you say it.
Yeah.
It's how you conduct yourself. It's what you do. It's like I've had clients come up for. I'll just see if a client's coming up from England or whatever. I'll say just crash at mine. Like it's fine. Like, you just stay at mine if they can't get somewhere or it's
Yeah.
a bit expensive. I'm like, you've made the effort to come up. You can do that. That's not an invitation to all my clients to come to
Yeah.
the house, by the way. But like in every time my client's done that, they come and I'm like, I always ask them, what did you take away from just like being at mine? And they're
Sure.
like, you just do what you're always gonna do. Like even like my morning routine, how I go about things. Like I've had clients who have been if I had a drink the night before, but I still get up and do the same shit.
Yeah.
People are like, even at weekends? And
Yeah.
like I'm not even telling anyone anything, but people are learning from my behaviors.
Sure.
And I think that's the power of always being around. You need to be around people that are gonna pull your pants down.
Yeah.
Not literally, but like
Yeah.
mentally.
For
Mentally
sure.
pulling your pants down, like actually feeling like that's exposing something that's making me feel a bit uncomfortable right now.
Sure.
Curious, why is that? And that was like I wasn't going away and being reactive and being like I was like,
Yeah.
ah like there's something there that I need to act on.
Have you always been like that?
Like being aware like that, or
Yeah.
I would say I was talking to some guys in the sauna earlier, and they were like basically saying we are talking about like we were chatting about and we were talking about age, and I was saying I was 30 this month. Pure telling everyone that I'm 30. I don't go around telling everyone I'm 30, but
I'll get you a badge.
yeah. And they said to me like life starts when you're 30. I said I can relate to that, man. Like,
Sure.
and for me, I think a big turning point for me, going back to that question, Damien, was I had a big turning point in it went to 2016 when I was 23, and it was like I was like in Ibiza, I was partying, and like I thought I had a heart attack, man. Like I was
Right.
like really hitting it hard, man, partying. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, my mum would not be proud of me right now. Like, what are you fucking doing? So see that point that a lot of people get to when they're like 30. I got that when I was like 23. So it was like almost this level of
Yeah.
self-awareness is like you need to fucking stop just accepting shit. You need to stop. You need to start actually like I always use the line in the sand analogy. Like most people will have a line in the sand drawn out for them. I just was like, I need to draw my own. But we were actually talking about this last night, and
That's why I kept on saying, you know what, let's just
yeah,
stop talking right
yeah.
now. There's so much.
And this is the thing, and that this will relate to every single person that's going through a journey. Maybe you work with Damien, maybe you work with me, maybe you're working with another coach, a mentor, like something where it's leveling up your life and yourself. Is that you will be given a framework that will allow you to essentially draw your own line in the sand, but there will come a point where you realize that you're just living someone else's line in the sand, but then eventually you pick up the stick and you start drawing your own. So it starts off with
Yeah.
the status quo, like you were talking about, the trivial thing, get a job, pension, safe, secure, no mention of happiness. Do
Yeah.
this, like go out of the weekend, get pissed. That's the line in the sand. Then you break away, you maybe get a coach, you find a sport, you do something, then you're like, right, cool, new path. This one's
Yeah.
better.
Start taking more control.
Start taking more control. But it's actually just a little bit higher. And then what happens in that line is you eventually find the same level of lack of fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, where's the stick?
Yeah. Need to draw another line.
I need to draw another fucking line, man.
Yeah.
And then you start to create your own frame and your own. So, like, for me, I would say that the 23 was the point that was like, I came out the normal line, started drawing my own, and then after that, probably in the recent past, probably since lockdown, started just squiggling lines,
Mm-hmm.
putting shit down, and so like I'd probably say going back to, I know that was a long-winded answer for your point, but
No, for sure.
I figured out what self-awareness was probably about like 23, which
Right.
I think is, but I coach some people now that are like fucking 20. Don't coach a lot, but I've a guy I'm coaching right now, and his level of self-awareness for 20 years old is insane.
Dude, honestly, I think since I came to Bali, I've met a lot of young, like 20, 21,
Yeah,
22, 23, that when you speak to them, you're like, like, there's a difference between woke and being conscious,
yeah,
right? Like, woke is a bit more of this like trend at the moment,
yeah,
but like consciousness is where you've leveled up, like, and I've met like some seriously inspiring young guys here that I'm like, dude, at 21, I was not like you.
yeah,
Like, in no way, shape, or form. I was getting fucked at
yeah,
21. And like, these guys are just so like mission driven, value driven, like
yeah,
so focused on making an impact. And I'm like, where do you learn that at 21?
yeah.
Where do you learn that at 20? Like, it's just insane.
But mate, stuff like this podcast,
Yeah,
like this is the stuff that's leveling up. It's not just that, but like the
sure.
access to information now versus what it was
Yeah,
is insane. Like the resources available to consume, like the saying, you're the average of the five people you spend the most time
yeah.
with. It's not five people anymore. It's
It's what you listen to, it's
what
what
you
you
listen
watch.
to, what you
Yeah,
watch. So it's like you could you could be like, one of your five people could be Alex Hormozy
yeah,
because you consume so much of his content.
this is true.
So you could genuinely listen to his podcasts, watch his YouTubes, subscribe to his emails, and just consume that all day. Spend like literally 90 minutes of your day
Yeah.
every day consuming that.
You're making me want to go and do that right now.
But that's what I mean.
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah,
you can genuinely be like people like get in the right rooms. It's like, yeah, but you actually have the availability, not
yeah.
just fucking sit and watch cats on TikTok. Do you know what I mean? Like
Oh, I'm massively guilty of that.
triggered.
Triggered, bro. Cat videos are my like one of my like top favorite things to watch. No, but I totally understand that, dude. Like, it isn't about who you hang around with. It's partially and mostly, but I think it's also certain energies and certain like
Hmm.
influences in more ways than just the physical. It really is also about what you hear. It's about, how you are essentially educated through all of these different mediums. And, when I meet these 21-year-old guys, like, dude, the guys that they're hanging out with are also like, I'm just like, oh my fuck, like, how do you have it together so early on in life? And maybe they don't have it together. Dude, I
Very
think even
unlikely.
when you reach a very high level of success, you're still figuring out life.
Hmm.
Like, I've gone through certain seasons and cycles where I'm like, whoa, I've really kind of got it together. 6 hours after that, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I need to like level this up. I need to learn more. I need to take on more. But, when I do meet young guys that are not necessarily even running like six-figure businesses, there's loads of kids that are making a ton of money, but it's more just when you speak to them, how authentic and how like just their energy is just on an
Hmm.
unparalleled level.
Hmm. They can hold a room.
Yeah, that's it,
Yeah,
dude.
and it's
What were
basically.
your like major influences at that turning point? Like, who have you, aside from, let's say, a coach or a mentor that's
Hmm.
helped you, from a business standpoint? You mentioned your mom.
Hmm.
Like, who's really played like a key role in, that development of essentially who you are right now?
Hmm. Definitely say my parents, like they obviously influence that in good and bad traits. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing from
Sure.
parents. But like the thing with my parents now is like when I first started doing this, there was resistance because they were like, you can't do that. Because again, the line in the sand and they just care about you. But when you started making momentum, now my mum would just back me to the moon.
Sure.
Like she would just be like, mom and dad would just be like, yeah, you know fucking well, like you've
Mm,
done really well up until this point. So that I've got that there. But for me, like it was, I always use this analogy, like the term the grey man, and I didn't know until recently that this was like like a military only term. And when I was in the Air Force, the grey man was this like just be the grey man, and the grey man was a person that done enough to go unnoticed and enough to be recognised that they were doing enough, but they never done amazing and they never
right.
done shit. They were grey. And the reason for this is so you didn't get picked out, you didn't get like bullied, you didn't get like going through like basic training. It was a term that I'd heard, and I thought that was it's a military term. Have you ever heard of it before, the grey
No,
man?
never.
Yeah, like so like someone asked me this recently. And they were like, keep hearing you say this. It was on a bit of content it was making. Never heard of that, and then I was like, is that not a term?
No.
So I framed a full talk at my last event around the grey man,
Right.
and like I was a grey man. Like I loved that identity. I wasn't unpopular at school, but I wasn't uber popular. And then when I joined the military, I wasn't super fit, but I wasn't like crazy unfit. Sat in the middle, and then I just started to feel like a proper lack of fulfillment, like in that as I was moving in that direction, like in my life, and I was very unhappy, and like at the time I wasn't really aware of my mental health and stuff then, like even though I was, but I wasn't. Like as I said, that I remember when I was in like IB fun, I was telling you about that point
Yeah.
that happened. I wasn't aware that my mental health was like in tatters. I was just
Sure.
like, I don't feel good right now. Do you know what I mean? Like I know that sounds
Yeah.
the same
Yeah. Yeah.
thing. But yeah, going back to the point you were saying there, big influences for me was like that was just encouraged. So I just was like, see when anyone was like, "Oh, you can become an officer, you can do this," I was like, that's not even on the table
Sure.
because I'm not that guy. Like I'm not that guy that can do stuff like that. But there was always a part of me inside that loved it. Like I
Right.
loved the inspirational leader. Like I looked up to people that were in leadership roles. Like I really, really resonated with a great boss.
Sure.
Someone that I was like I was inspired by them and I listened to them. And I also didn't really listen to someone that I wasn't inspired by. So
Right.
that like I
Yeah.
understood
For sure.
understood
You knew what the crack
what the
was.
crack was.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even though I didn't do it myself.
For sure.
And I always loved the idea of doing it, but I just never done it because I was like, no, this is the way I am, and like I'm going to get this job. I'm probably going to meet a girl. We're going to get a house, and we're going to do. Like, it was almost like my future was drawn out for me. And then I was
Sure.
like, wait a minute, I'm not going to do this. But a big influence for me was an officer at the time, and I've never actually told him this. Probably should tell him because I've mentioned it
Yeah.
a couple of times. His name was John Richardson, Flight of 10 Richardson. And he was my boss at the time, when I was based in the bunker in northeast England, the CRC, and he's like to me, "Why are you not an officer?" And I was just like, what do you mean? And he was like, why are you not an officer? Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Like, why are you like non-commissioned? Like, and he said this to me on like a night shift, and that was like it, mate. Like, he didn't say anything else, but
Sure.
that was enough to be like, why is he recognizing me so much?
Right.
And I respected him even more because he was someone that went through the ranks, then became an officer, then he was like,
Sure.
and he was like a whiz op, which was a weapon systems operator, which I wanted to do and stuff. And it was just like I said, it wasn't like he went, you should do this, and it was just like he asked me why.
Yeah.
And I think I have that with clients, but sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And it almost made me go, why not that I ended up going and doing that, but it was like this turning point for me, like
Sure.
very, very quickly I started to question so many things. I started to be like,
It's almost like you're being told that you are good enough, you
yeah,
know, whereas like if someone had to rather make a statement more than a question, then you'd probably still question it. You know, you'd probably like be like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's for me. I don't know if I'm credible enough. Like, I don't know if I'm good enough. But, you know, if someone basically says, hey, you're good enough, why are you not doing this? Like, it's
yeah,
quite a nice, like, little pat on the back.
yeah. So that was a big turning point for me. Then like I started thinking about obviously becoming a coach, knew nothing about being a coach, like
Right.
knew nothing, hadn't had any coaching, didn't
Mhm.
even consume any free content. It
Right.
was totally bro science, self-taught,
No,
like was in okay shape,
sure.
like but I'd go through peaks and troughs, didn't really have control of my life over weekends and stuff like that. But I was like, that was in planted in the back of my mind because people started to ask me to help them and stuff, and we would go on deployment and go different places and stuff, and then like, that kind of unlocked that, and then like that was when I kind of made the move to do that in 2000. I put my notice in 2016. It's a 6 month notice,
Right.
so
And
they
then you transition straight into PTing into a gym.
straight into the gym. Just started my didn't even know I was starting my own business.
Right.
Like just was like the guys are like, "Hey man, you're really switched on." Because I know I'm a switched on guy. Like I came there, I wore a fucking suit to the gym,
Mhm.
right? To go to a fucking gym group. No, it wasn't. It was lifestyle fitness at the time, right? Mate, like, see the thing is, I know I'm laughing and like you're laughing, I'm laughing, right?
Yeah.
But see how fucking impressed they were
Yeah.
that I came in, like I just left the military, I was studying, I came in dressed up, and I actually had a portfolio of people that I fucking, like three people that I
Unreal.
helped in transformations. See the fact, like, see now, like I help coaches in a mentorship that I work
Yeah.
inside as well, right? Like, see if like I seen a coach walk into a gym and do that, I'd be like, they're the fucking shit.
That's the one. Yeah.
That's the one. They are
Yeah.
the one. And like I laugh at that now, but I'm like, well, that just shows where my priorities lie when I've done
Sure.
things. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like I remember after that, I'd watch folk come in and they would miss interviews and they would be like, but I didn't even know at the time it was running your own business. They're just like, yeah, it's gym rent. This will be quite good for you. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. And then they were like, we'll help you and stuff. And then like I just started my own business and didn't even know I was starting my own, but because I was planning on working for someone else. But I'm glad I done it because it just forced me to level up. But I was saying to Ailey, like since then, like you know what it's like being a business owner, your back's like against the wall. And I was like, see, for 7 years, Ailey, like my back's been against the wall, like
Sure.
since day one. Like
Yeah.
not in a way where I'm like I feel like I'm fighting to survive, but like you have to flick a switch, man, when you start fending for yourself, and
For sure.
that again unlocks a new level of drive and ambition.
At what point did you go online? Was that a transition or was that like, guys, I'm not going to be training anyone, in-house anymore. I'm going online.
I just jumped straight online, yeah. So I went from around the time of the pandemic, I basically was in the gym. I was busy. I didn't really have a good business model. It was very unstable, but I made like okay money. Like I
Right.
was making more money than what I made in the Air Force and stuff, like doubled my income and stuff. But like I was like working, mate. Like I
Yeah,
was like a slave. Like
sure.
didn't have any good boundaries. I was burning myself out frequently. Like yeah, I was making double, but I was probably working fucking quadruple.
Early mornings, late nights.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, just really, really like working myself into ground. And again, then I started to fall back into like living for the weekend a bit more, and then I fell into that pattern again a little
Right.
bit. And then I was like, I'm going back to this guy that
Yeah.
like almost like it was that escapism, like. And I was like, shit. And then I was like, I need to change this. And then around the time before the pandemic, I was sick of personal training,
Right.
and there was a guy in my gym, my mate Andy, and I was like, he had a lot of success. He ran like a boot camp, and then he was like, what was it? He had like 100, no, like 80 members at his boot camp. He was doing group training. Like
Brilliant.
nobody else was doing this, man. Like I had a boot camp, but it had like 20 members. Do you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like, and then I had a PT, but I done one to one. I was watching this guy, and I was like, how much you make? And he was telling me, and I was like, what? I was like,
How's that even possible?
how's that even
Yeah.
possible? And
Yeah,
then he
yeah,
was
for
like,
sure.
so, but then I was like kind of looking, and at the end of 2019, I was becoming very sick of that gym. And it wasn't even the gym, mate, it was the area. I'm from Ayrshire. We're talking about the UK, but this area in particular is like fucking shit. Like,
Right.
it's like, I got threatened in the gym. A guy threatened me. I went and
Yeah.
picked up some weights one day, and this guy is a bit of a dodgy guy. And he's like, he's had like 3 heart attacks or something as well,
Right.
man. Like, and he's like, I'm saying that as if like, is he still alive? Because he
Yeah.
had like 3 heart attacks at the time. This guy's like a bit of an enforcer guy, a bit of a dodgy guy. Hopefully he's not watching this. And basically, yeah, he threatened me in the middle of the gym. Like he was just like, yeah, he went like that to me again. What was it? I picked up the weights and he went, I'm fucking using them. And I just went like this. I just went, I work here. But
Yeah.
and then he was like that. He went, what'd you say to me? And he was like, not squaring up to me,
Yeah.
but like almost at that point.
Yeah.
And I just was like, this isn't a pub, mate. This isn't a bar. This is my gym. This is where I work. And then like I remember I was like so angry, and the guy that was a manager at the time didn't really do anything about it.
Right.
And I was like, nah, this needs to
That's just, yeah, like clearly that's then the standard, and you don't want
yeah,
to lower
like
yourself to that.
yeah, I was like, this has to change, man. And then that was at the end. That was like November. It was dark, and I hated night times in that gym. It just, you know what it's like at night time in a gym. It just any gym changes, doesn't it?
Especially in the UK,
Yeah,
dude.
especially in the UK, it just changes. And like that was a big point. And then I was like to Andy, what's this mentor thing that you've got? And he was like, tell you what, I'll help you. And I was like, cool, mate. And then at that time, I started like buying into a lot more things, the courses and stuff.
Sure.
Paying for like Jamie Alderton's courses, Paul Mort's email marketing. And I just realized there was this like new world of like, there's people that actually you pay and they teach you how to do this way better.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was almost like the keys to like another set of doors.
Sure.
And I was like, shit, man. Then that came at a really good time because I'd been working with Andy for a couple of months. Pandemic came. I'm like, that opportunity
Yeah.
was buzzing. No joke, mate. Like I was out the gym 10 days before the lockdown happened. Had set up an online virtual group training model. It was a bit of a shambles, man, but it was. I
That
created
whole 2 years was a shambles.
yeah, made the an offer, and then within 2 weeks after the pandemic, we had 70 people in the virtual boot camp,
Unbelievable.
man. And I was like, holy shit! And then as I started to kind of like manage things a little bit better, obviously knew the gyms were going to be reopening. My clients were getting better results
Mhm.
because I was delivering. I say trainings. It was like a live call. I was putting education in place. There was more accountability.
Yeah.
And I look at that now compared to what I have now, and I'm like, that's like this would just shit on that. But
Yeah.
like, it was way more than what I was delivering. And then we went back to the gym, mate, and clients started just paying me for time with me. And then within literally a matter of months, I left. I just was like, I'm going fully online. And I joined another mentorship. But it was literally within like the gyms reopened back up, I think, end of the year. And by the February, I was fully online, started an online program, and then I had my program was called Project Level Up. Just pulled that name out of my arse, to be honest, man. Then I was
Right.
like, that's why I rebranded at the start of the year. But it's been next level since then. The mentorship I joined really changed my life. It did, and then fast forward to now. I know actually I mentioned it, but I work inside. See these sliders,
Okay.
MRR.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
Chris's brand.
Right.
The upgraded coach monthly recurring revenue. But they
It's pretty cool. You got some sliders.
yeah man,
Yeah.
that's cool, isn't
Yeah.
it?
I need to get some for my clients, dude.
Mate, he'll be buzzing about this.
Yeah.
But
Shout out.
shout out to Chris. But yeah, and then there was a big moment for me as well. Me and Chris didn't really know each other. Like we'd supported each other back and forward. Like he'd been on my podcast. But then he asked me to work inside the mentorship. He's like, I don't know what the role is right now, but I need a Christian. Like I need a Christian, and then that was a big turning point as well. So I've worked in there for like obviously I have my own fitness company. Then I work inside his fitness
Sure.
business owner mentorship as well as head of client development. So
Brilliant.
yeah, man, it's the past the past sort of like 2 years have been crazy, man. Like crazy growth.
Yeah.
So it's been good. Like
Yeah,
it's
we
been,
share the same story, dude.
yeah,
Like literally the second that COVID,
yeah.
kind of happened, we all started to work from home. I worked for the company
Hmm.
online, so basically, luckily kept my job, kept my salary. Um, but they said, look, you need to take all of our current clients online, deliver online personal training sessions. Now, yeah, I mean that was cool, but like I wasn't equipped with that skill set. Even though let's say I can still sit there and I can count your reps and I can still like, tell you, okay, cool, 30-second recovery or whatever the case is, like it had just lost this physical connection and I didn't really know how to feel about it at the time, but then I started to get really good results over like a 3-month period, 6-month period. Basically, the whole thing was that, the CEO of the company would be sending out emails to all 300 employees saying, if you guys don't deliver results, unfortunately, due to this whole situation, we need to let go of you. And I was like, whoa, wait, I didn't ask for this whole COVID situation. I also now have my job in jeopardy if I don't deliver results, but we're not in a gym. I can't take a client through a high intensity session where I'm taking them to near failure. Like, I'm really trusting clients to assess their own intensity from home, and me just being there as like kind of the support structure on the other side of Zoom. But it seemed to work out. Like, and we got really, really good results. I ended up obviously keeping my job through that whole duration. Got quite a few good results, which led to my promotion. But I would only get that promotion when the gyms opened up again.
Yeah.
And so when the gyms opened up again, and I saw how much money I'd made the company during COVID, I was like, yo, sorry, I've been getting really good results off my laptop, my time, my Wi-Fi, and I've been getting really good world-class results. And then I was like, you know what, we're going to stick with this online model. I resigned and then essentially got Ollie from Supercharge
Mm.
as my mentor off the bat. And yeah, dude, also rest is history, man. If I
Yeah.
look back at like a lot of the content that I was putting out in the beginning, I came across a nutrition plan like 3 days ago of what I'd sent to a client in beginning of COVID. When was that? Like end of 2019?
Yeah.
Yeah, end of 2019. So I think it was no, beginning of 20.
It
When was
start of
COVID?
2020, March 2020.
Yeah, so end of 2019, like that Christmas period, that's where I think, we started to go online as the company. And then I think it was at the end of 2021 was when I went online. So 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And I looked at like the PDFs that I was sending clients the other day and I was like, oh my gosh, there's been so much more development since then,
It's a
it's
good thing
actually
though, man.
crazy.
Like if you can't do that,
Yeah,
that's more worrying
yeah,
than cringing. Like
yeah,
if you can't look at something even 6 months ago
yeah.
and like be like, could have done that better.
Fuck, I could have done that a lot better.
Could have done that
Yeah,
better. It shows where you're at. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
It shows where you're growing. But I think the biggest thing to take away from both of them is like the proof's in the pudding, man. Like get fucking help. Like
yeah,
if you can, like, and I used to always say, I know it's a luxury. Like it's not really. Like you look at in the UK, the poverty line is like this really, really controlled way of poverty. It's
mhm,
not really poverty, right?
yeah,
It's enough that someone can still go out. Like someone living in poverty where I'm from, there is obviously some people that are homeless, but I'm talking about the poverty line that's
yeah,
like the general one. They've got flat screen
yeah.
TVs.
If you're on the dole, you can still afford to
Yeah,
go shopping.
exactly. So like what we need to understand is that like people are sometimes like, yeah, but not everyone can afford that. And it's like not depending on what service it is. Like we were talking about
Sure.
films that like you can't like go, it depends on, it needs to be appropriate, right? But like, why is that not a priority?
Yeah,
Like,
you
why is
don't even need to invest, dude. there's enough free resources.
I know.
This is also the one thing where I say to clients, I'm not reinventing a wheel here when it comes to body recomposition, when it comes to training or nutrition. What I offer is the support, the accountability, and a framework that is specific to you getting to where you want to be. But if you can't afford the coaching, what change are you going to make today? So either you come on board with me, which would be absolutely fantastic, would love to work with you. But if not, let's say it's not an affordable option, what steps are you going to take? Because there is plenty of free information, free courses that are going off for $2. There's courses that you can get a low ticket mentorship where it's maybe more group coaching, for example. There is a lot out there that people can still utilize to get out of that. I don't say to get out of the poverty line, but there's enough out there to help you.
Yeah, because and especially in the UK, the poverty line isn't like the poverty line here.
Yeah.
It's different.
No.
Like it's totally different. Like it's enough that keeps you content. Do you know what I mean? And I know that I'm not speaking for everyone here. I know that
sure.
everyone's got different situations, and some people are in far worse positions. But it's funny you say that. Like there'll be, I can guarantee you, he will listen to this. There's a guy that I've known from when I worked in the gym, and we basically recently got on a call, and he actually messaged me recently saying, "Mate, as soon as I've got enough money, like I'm gonna work with you." And like he's being serious because he told me recently, right? He'll be laughing at this right now because he will be listening to this, consuming it because it's like again available. He is the definition of what you can genuinely do if you take on board free advice. Like he's in all these free Facebook groups. He's developing his training. I even put a thing up the other day. Like he was like he couldn't make it to my event, but he was like, I went like I have a couple of slots for the event. He's not signed up with me. We already had a call
Sure.
about him coming on board. He went not right now. He was going to come to the event. I done this thing. I'll give you an audit in your training. He was like, let me do it. There's all these. That's just the stuff I'm giving out for free, right? But what I'm saying is like he's in all these other. He's fingering every pie that's free, and he's progressing. He's progressing
Yeah.
physically. He's progressing in his lifestyle. He's progressing in his mindset. He's progressing in his career. He's also a PT as well, but he was like he's doing everything, and it's like I know that he's like right now I'm just going to utilize it, and that is the definition of what you genuinely can do. Like
Yeah.
he is like in all these, these free Facebook groups that you create. He's in about
Yeah.
like probably about 10.
Sure.
I don't know how many he's in, but he'll be laughing at this because he'll probably be listening to this back as well. Like he'll know exactly who he is.
It's kind of like what happened with Alex Hormozy a few weeks ago. He invited everyone to a free webinar, and then he gave away like a crazy amount of business building free resources. And that's all the framework that this man has actually used and put into place with his own businesses that have generated hundreds of millions. And he gave all of that away for free. So if that's all available and it's all textbook procedure based, plug in and play, do this with your business. The success stories that have come from that in the past like month and a half, 2 months, I was hearing are like unbelievable, dude.
Yeah.
Guys that have gone from earning a couple hundred a month are now making 10, 15 grand a month. And that's just in the past, 2, 3 months since these resources were made available to people. So yeah, dude, the information is out there.
Yeah. And that's the thing, but the part that this is like actually, where was I asked this again? It was about AI. I don't know. I'm not an AI expert, right? But the one thing, and I know it's why because we'll just change with the times, but in our industry, doing what we do, the thing that will always be, well, I say always, we don't know because it's going to get to light year speed where
Sure.
it's going to go, like, life's going to dramatically change in the next 10 years. But probably for the next 2, maybe a bit longer, like, there's going to be an inherent need for people to still be around people.
Yeah.
Not just physically, but like in the right rooms, as I was talking about earlier. So like all the information is going to be there. You have advanced AI tools in the next 6 months. You can go on ChatGPT and you could create so much on there. It's the power of the questions, right? But the bit that will always be missed is the bit of the human connection.
Sure.
Is actually like do you know what I mean? Like someone might be consuming our content where they just really buy into you, Damien. They
Yeah.
just really, really they like your energy.
Yeah.
They like knowing that they've got your number.
Mm-hmm.
Can I change that, man?
No.
Like someone might be able to clone you, your identity
Yeah,
and voice
and sound like me and
exactly.
talk like
Yeah,
me, but
exactly.
there's an energy that's unmatched.
Unmatched, mate. And that's the bit where like coaching, it's like you just you know who your people are sometimes, and you're like, I need that person. There's probably a lot of other people that can do maybe even better, but they're like, but I need that person.
Yeah.
And that's the bit that will never ever change. And if you can create that in any space that you work in, anything that you do, your job, it's like there will be always be an inherent need for another human being
Sure.
to buy into you.
Yeah.
Because that's the bit that like not like the I know there is going to be emotion in it. I know that that is something that I've read up's pretty frightening, man.
Yeah.
Like it's becoming self-aware, but like the point I'm trying to get at is like that's the bit in the near future, I'm like no one can take away, is like actually being like I need that person.
Yeah.
I need them in my life.
That's
Do
what
you
I
know
mean. I even think of sometimes I'm on a call with a client, and I also believe sometimes you need to just, as a coach, shut your mouth and just listen. Don't listen to then speak, just listen. And let's say someone is engaging with an AI coach, right? And they're pouring their heart out. The second that that client is finished speaking, AI will respond. But sometimes I just keep quiet. Cool, you finished speaking. But maybe if I keep quiet just a little bit longer, you're going to keep talking. And that's where like the real emotional stuff comes out, and that's what needs to be changed. Behind every decision, there's an emotion behind that. And I believe that like holding space for clients is really, really important. I don't believe that AI is going to replace holding space for people, for them to think about inherently why they're doing things or why they're not doing
what
things. So as much as like I think AI is great from a tools perspective in running a business, from automations to content creation to, you know, pretty much everything, right? You can get AI to also even let's say you're a coach that doesn't have a lot of experience when it comes to programming, right? AI is actually really excellent for that because maybe your role as the coach, and I'm not speaking for, let's say performance driven coaches where it's like, we're running a marathon or we're, prepping for a show. Like there's a lot of technicality in a lot of these frameworks. But I think from a Gen Pop perspective, if it's just to give someone a good structure, a good routine, so that they can just go and train and be healthy and, have that in their lives, maybe what that client actually needs is rapport with someone, right? And having a relationship with someone to improve their accountability and to improve, let's say their emotive drive behind following through with that plan. I don't think AI can overtake that aspect of coaching just yet. It can definitely overtake the programming side of things. It can definitely write a nutrition plan. You just punch in the macros, punch in the calories. AI can do that in literally 30 seconds. I've put it to the test. The second that ChatGPT came out, what do you think was the first thing that I went and did? Of course, I wanted to see how accurate it was.
Yeah.
These are the foods that the client can't eat. Great. So I need 1,600 calories, broken down to 3 meals. The client can't eat eggs, dairy, or meat. Dude, in 15 seconds, AI had put together the most insane thing. So once again, I say we're not reinventing the wheel here. Actually, there's enough data out there for it to be done in 15 seconds. But I think when it comes to building a relationship with someone and that relationship impacts their relationship then with training and nutrition and everything else in their lifestyle, I think we're good for a while.
Yeah,
Longer than 2 years.
the keyword is a while, isn't it? Because it's gonna like I think that's the hard thing to fathom, isn't it? You ever seen the movie Ex Machina?
Yes.
Oh my God,
Oh my God.
that's like one of
Yeah.
the best movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like it's fucked up, man. Like it's actually like it actually makes you just
Yeah.
go,
Fuck.
is that happening
Is
right
that
now?
possible? Yeah.
Is that like is it,
Yeah.
you ever read Scary Smart?
No.
Oh mate, read
What's
it.
it about?
Oh, just read it. Like gives me
Okay, don't even
chills.
tell me. Yeah.
Mate, so see, like the bit that it changed my life,
Yeah.
and why it changed my life is it's not that I just started living differently, right? I was in Tenerife last November, and I was reading Scary Smart, and I'd heard it at an event I was at. It was actually Joe, our old coach, um, and he had a speaker there that was he was no, he still worked with like the Olympic swimmers.
Mhm.
Really, I can't remember the guy's name. It was a brilliant talk. I don't even want to attempt his name. I can't remember what it is. And he mentioned a few books, and I always see when someone very, very intelligent or wise mentions a book, I'm always like that,
Yeah.
like writing it
I'm the
down,
same.
always the same. Because like I don't think they really mention. They're not like, oh, like I read James Clear's Atomic Habits, great book by the way, but like
Yeah.
it's just the run of the mill
Who
book in it.
who hasn't read it?
Yeah, every coach in it's the coach's
Yeah.
playbook.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know
Um,
when I see a caption on Instagram, I'm like, yeah, that's chapter 3, dude.
but he mentioned this and he was like he mentioned it in a way though it was how he said it and I was like, I'm going to read that. And no joke, mate. Like we were on holiday for 5 nights in Tenerife, and I couldn't stop thinking. It consumed my holiday.
Right.
Like the book's, it's written by Mo Goddard.
Mm-hmm.
You follow him, and he's written another book as well. He's really, really good. And he's the former Google. And you see when you read it, you understand why I'm talking about it, because it's in your duty when you read the book to tell
Right.
more people to read the book, because it's not a cult, by the way. But he was the Google X, which is the innovation laboratory for like essentially AI.
Right.
Google. He was the CBO, and he put his notice in. It was like,
Too much.
this is not, we're unleashing like
Yeah.
godlike figures.
I
Like,
wonder what's going on behind the scenes, dude.
mate, it's crazy, man. But he basically wrote this book, and it's not just about how AI works. It's like, it's about being a human, and it's like we are creating. Think about all the mad shit going on in the world right now, right? We are creating something that's going to be molded, and he explains every scenario that could potentially happen, like these like utopian theories, but also dystopian theories.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't say one's going to happen. He's just telling you every frame, and it's like, so see, anything that you think isn't impossible with AI,
It's
it actually is.
It's being done.
It's
We
being
just
done,
don't
and
know.
it's good. So see when someone goes, but that, see even like us, I'm having this conversation going, that won't, it will eventually, but it won't be there, and it'll be a different format. But there will be, because like even you said about holding the room, there will be that will know for that person at that time
To
do that,
I know.
because it will know that.
Do you know what's crazy is that this podcast will go on Spotify. That's on the web.
Yeah,
This conversation is being recorded.
yeah,
This conversation is being uploaded,
yeah,
and it's being fed into a database.
yeah. It's crazy, mate. Like it's, and I don't, that in the book really explains it well, but it really, how it changed my life, because I went away for that there, is that the future I thought I was going to have is different.
Yeah.
That's how it changed my
Sure.
life, mate. Like it changed, and it really made me realize that like there's going to be a lot of change over the coming years,
Right.
like unhinging change, and like if you don't have a lot of things in your life, you're going to be a pawn.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're
Yeah.
going to be a, like, it's not going to be, this is going south, this
Yeah.
conversation, man.
No, but what would you say is would you say this is probably like the most powerful book you've read,
Ever
or what
read,
would
mate.
really?
Ever read, mate.
Really?
Ever
Oh,
read,
so I
mate.
need to read it.
Oh, mate,
Oh, for real?
it's mate. I was actually like sitting by the pool going like this, and I would just talk to Ailey about it, and
Yeah.
Ailey was just sat laughing, and I was like, and we met some people, and I was talking to them about it, and I was like, I knew about AI, but I didn't know about it to this extent,
Yeah.
and I was like, and it explains it in a way if someone doesn't, they're not technical, don't
Right.
understand it, they explain it in a way that's like shit, but it's.
Shit.
But like I was reading it, one of my clients, Graham, very, very intelligent guy. He's read it, and he was like to me, "Don't worry, you get to the end and it's not all negative, mate."
Mm.
It's because it makes you just fucking be like, "What's the point?" Like I know that
Yeah.
sounds very, but it makes
No.
you genuinely feel a bit empty.
Sure.
Like it almost like, what is it to be a human?
Right.
Like we're about to, like, and then you start looking into those like so many different. I didn't know there's been 5 different extinctions since planet Earth. There's been about
Really?
5.
I mean, they're also like all hundreds of thousands, millions of years apart
We're
from
on the
each other.
verge of one.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
It's crazy. I don't want this podcast to
Do you
scare
know what?
anyone.
I do think though that the human need for power will stop AI from fully taking over.
Yeah.
Like, sure, AI will have this at some point, like this hunger to have all this power, but like, I don't believe that it can replace the human consciousness
Mm.
and its want and need. I don't think an AI can develop an ego.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that ego, when it's involving money and power and status, I don't know if like we could ever be fully replaced.
Yeah.
But then you also hear about like AI making decisions in war, of like AI, there's a rocket that's just gone up in the air, and all of a sudden like it's made its own decision to blast it out the sky. It is making decisions.
Mm-hmm.
It makes decisions all the time. Like, I mean, everything that we know, think, do
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to technology is an automated decision. It is scary.
We're being controlled by it right now, because like even like we are creating content in a way, and you're doing like a bit of content after this,
Yeah.
but you're like, right, I need to do it this way because this will suit the algorithm, and this will.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? The puppet strings, man. It's
This
already
is
there.
true.
Yeah.
We're going by what the algorithm flags
Yeah.
up and flags down, so it's
Exactly,
like
mate.
there's certain things you can say and that you shouldn't say, certain topics you should talk about or not. So
It's
it's like
already happening.
AI is essentially actually shaping how we live our lives. When did that happen?
Fuck knows, mate. Like
When
when
did
did
that fucking happen,
mate?
bro?
It's crazy, man.
That's
It's
actually insane.
mate. Read the book. Read the
Like
book.
what was the defining point, right? Like obviously there's been this transition with social media and social media has been developed, but like at what point did we start to like actually I don't like to use the word controlled,
Yeah,
but essentially it does dictate how we
yeah,
produce content, how we engage online, engage with each other.
yeah. How you take a picture, like how even someone that isn't creating, they're just making a bit of the post for they're going out on Saturday night and they want to take a selfie. They're like, that's too dark, or that's
Have
like
you heard
a
about these social media influencers that are AI?
no.
Bro, full on profiles.
Oh my God.
Full on profiles, AI generated. The profile is AI generated. All the photos are AI generated. The brand collaboration deals and the content that is being produced is all AI generated
Hmm.
by AI. That's it. Like, with no human intervention.
It's terrifying.
Like, do you know how insane that is? Say goodbye to influencers.
Yeah, I know. It's absolutely terrifying, man. And folk will actually start to be like, I like that one, like
Yeah,
that, like because it'll have such a personality. Because it'll know,
yeah,
it'll have a database going. This is why they
yeah. But
get.
you're not engaging with a real human.
I
That's the
know,
scary part,
I
dude.
know,
Like,
man.
and I think that's where, for example, even us as PTs and coaches can be fully replaced by an AI coach who
Yeah,
has all the information,
yeah,
all the content and the framework that's being delivered to clients
yeah,
is AI generated. Actually, now that I'm saying it, like, yeah, there's always a possibility, but still nothing can ever take away the human, and humans are the ones that are inhabiting this
yeah.
earth on a 7 billion person scale.
Mm,
We are collectively all sharing an ego. We're all sharing a communicative existence together, and i- nothing can take,
no.
just the power of the human want away from us.
Yeah, I've got. I know this conversation's went totally away from. It's interesting though, man.
Where did we diverge?
I don't know. We're just talking about like.
Yeah, I can talk about this for days.
Yeah, no, man. It's interesting though, but like the. I can't even remember what I was going to talk about
Yeah.
there. Anyway,
One of the things I wanted to actually ask you, I think before we went on that, was you mentioned, you run events.
yeah.
Do you do this quarterly? Do you do this annually?
Hmm.
What does that entail? If let's say someone wants to come on board, work with you,
Hmm.
and essentially, prep towards one of these, what does that look like?
So, when anyone comes into the program, basically we have like a three phase step when they come in. So we have prime, perform, and dominate. And basically, it's like a roadmap for someone
Hmm.
coming on board. And prime is like when someone essentially comes in, it's about taking them through a recomp,
Hmm.
getting them really good shape. Someone might be in a longer term fat loss phase. Someone might be just coming in and really screwing the nut. Someone might be like kind of, it depends on where they're at. But prime is about relinquishing control of your habits, behaviors, beliefs so that your body is in tip top shape. And we've got a roadmap of an expectation for that. Then we have perform, which is like when someone's going to start to take on like an event or challenge because I'm a firm believer that when you do things like if you haven't nailed a transformation, then don't sign up to an event. Someone might be like, well,
Sure.
because I'm not in shape. And it's like, no, if you want to do it and be in control, because how many people do you know that do marathons that are bent out of shape
Yeah.
because they've got no autonomy over their nutrition? All they're doing is having a really, really significant impact on their hormones because their appetite's up and down like a
Hmm.
yo-yo. Even more than it's intensified
Yeah.
because they don't have that
Which affects your
control.
performance.
Yep, it affects their joints because they're
Hmm.
unable to essentially like they're basically it's like me sticking on a 20, 30 kilogram vest and wondering why my
Yeah.
knees are sore.
Yeah.
So
There's no
that
conditioning
yeah,
involved.
there's no conditioning there and actual like and then also that it's like I think there's a big part of like what we are pushing in the program is like I want to make personal responsibility cool again. And I believe that so many people are so reactive. And I feel that we're in a very contracted state now where so many folk are emotionally unstable
Hmm.
because of lots of reasons, weekends, like I was, do you know what I mean? Like I was talking about, and because they're following the line in the sand. So essentially, when you do the event, the challenge, doing it like this, we also have a cadence inside of the program. We run weekly calls, we run events, quarterly events with our clients, and all this stuff. We have beliefs, we have methodology in there, and I just
Sure.
speak about it all the time. So it's like as they're going through this process of like transformation, event, they're also going through this like mental journey of like
Sure.
having their mind shaped in a direction that's like this is my ethos, these are my values, this is who I am, this is why I do this. So as well as with all the actual physical work, there's all this like deep work that
Mindset
we
work.
have like a
Yeah.
process along the way. So the way that I see it is like it's almost like you're brainwashing people to be not getting up with the culture, like,
Right.
but it doesn't work like if you just do one part of it.
No.
Like if you want to be ready for anything and go through and get that stage of domination, and what that actually is, I've actually defined that. Like I've actually done that recently. Like what is ready for anything, and it's like essentially 6 different parts, and it's like you have to have done. This will test me how good I am at being on
Mm-hmm.
these. You have to have went through an amazing physical transformation
Yeah.
journey. Like number one, weekends don't throw you by any way. Like you just navigate weekends, holidays, trips, no
Mm-hmm.
problem at all. You can essentially do that part in you don't log or track any food. You can do that autonomously.
Yeah.
You have to have done some sort of big challenge or big event. You have to be the 6 week rule, 6 weeks away from being in a ridiculous condition.
Right.
That's for you. That's
Yeah.
not just that you have to be this body fat
No,
percentage.
for sure.
You have to, this is testing me right now, accumulated at least 6 months of preparation. So,
Right.
like, and not just signed up for a marathon, but done the last 4 weeks. I mean, like, you have done
Yeah.
an accumulation phase of training
Yeah.
and committed to it. You have to be getting professional recognition, recognition within the community, and then there's one more I cannot
Right.
remember. But I've made it tangible.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like that's
Yeah.
that's
There's
like
there's markers.
there's markers. Like so, if you can do that, see at one of our events, you can speak,
Brilliant.
you can deliver a training.
Yeah.
We'll get you like, and that's what I want people to strive towards. And
That's
that's
great.
because like I didn't want to make it. It's like, oh, you have to look this way. It's like no, like see if you like I've looked at the success
You
clients.
embody the journey.
Yeah, like if you've fucking
Yeah.
done these, like if you've done these and you got to that point, it's like you've been in a really good spot.
That's great.
Like so that's the sort of journey there. Like it's very tangible now.
When did you start putting these events on?
So the ones that we run quarterly for with our clients.
Okay.
So the actual event, the training event is whatever the person wants to do. Like so like whatever
Sure.
they want to push towards. But the ones that we run, I've ran them for the past couple of years since I've been a
Right.
coach. Every quarter we'll run one. I'm very big on like my clients meeting up as much as they can. We've got clients in different countries, but I know that a lot of your clients are spread.
Yeah.
The lion's
Globally.
share of my clients are in the UK, and I've got a lot of English clients. I've got but the majority are Scottish. So we still have a very, very UK based bunch of clients. So when we can get people together, we'll do it. And they're just getting bigger and better. So twice
Brilliant.
per year, next year we're going to run 2 big conference suite ones.
Okay.
I've done one recently, which was a massive success. And then we'll run like a big training based one, which will be
Brilliant.
something, some sort of performance element. But they're amazing. And I want the program, like I also, like yourself, I'm running a retreat next year. The direction I want my business to go is that's something an additional cost, but I want our program to be known for these like wicked events, wicked community. Like obviously everything I spoke about, what the client's going to go through and get to, but I also want the retreats to be a big. I want to run
Yeah.
insane retreats like 3 to 4 times per year.
Epic.
Like so that's the plan right now.
For sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah, dude, a retreat, I think for me is like, it's so different to what I currently do. But I think, after, let's say, doing the same thing for the past like 10 years, essentially, even though I've been online for, 2 to 3 years, just actually, it's the same as with a client. They need a goal. They need a new thing to like, ignite that fire and ignite that flame. And, since coming to Bali and experiencing, all these different facets from an emotional, spiritual, and physical level, I've gone through a personal transformation in the past 5 months since I landed here. And that's really what I want to offer my clients when they come here as well. It's like, do the breath work with me. Let's do the yoga. Let's do mobility classes together. As long as it's bringing people together and like, just have a laugh, have a good time, like just break away from, all the stresses and everything that you're so used to on your Western side of the world. The idea of a retreat really just like,
yeah.
it excites me so much.
Yeah, I'm the same, man. I love that. Like there was that thing I was saying earlier that really spoke to me about retreats, but it ties into like when I had a client stay or like what the comments they made, like when they were with you. It's like I want to do that for like a week.
Yeah.
Or like do it in a way where it's like obviously optional for some people, but like waking up, we're going to do a bodyweight workout 6
Yeah.
a.m. Then we're going to have breakfast together. We're going to go out hike after that. Later on that day, we'll do a bit of easy cardio if anyone wants to join in. Then we'll have a barbecue, a few drinks later. We'll chill out. Everyone can enjoy the villa. Like, that's a fucking amazing day. And then, like, think of it. It's not just the stuff, because folk are so tied into stuff. They're like, it's not like, what do you get? It's, how do you feel?
Yeah.
And that's the bit that so many folk forget when it comes to, like, a journey, is they're so focused on things.
Yeah.
Material things, like, what do you get? And it's like, you fucking change.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what you, obviously it's important to understand whether that's investing in a trip, holiday coaching, mentor, and whatever it is. It's like
Sure.
it's like who you become. It's not like
Mm.
what do you get.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that I can resonate with is how do I feel?
Yeah.
I feel great. I think I might have like sold it and convinced it to you last night, like how much, just changing certain ways of how I live has made me feel, like from a business and a financial perspective, as I mentioned, like I've taken a very different route so that I can prioritize these other really important things to make me feel better because ultimately that's really what it's all about, right? Like you can have a six pack, you can have a physique of the gods, but feel like absolute shit, So, not saying that like you should look like absolute shit, but feel amazing. You won't feel amazing in that sense either. But I think it is really important to run things like a retreat or like a getaway or just move away from what you're so fixated on all the time, which
Mhm.
could be business, which could be money, which could be going out all the time, even, like
Mhm.
just a constant sense of like distraction almost, and just enjoy the simple things in life, connection,
Yeah.
good food, being outdoors. So the idea of a retreat for me is
Yeah.
works.
Something I always say to people, like, to try and put that in perspective, because see about how you feel. Sometimes folk are still looking at you, like, because they're not conscious, they're not aware of it, and it's
Yeah.
like, how do you explain that? For anyone that's listening, and you're maybe like, oh yeah, like I get it, but I don't really get it.
Mm.
The average person has 60,000 thoughts a day, on average.
It's quite a lot.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's quite a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, right. So like, I looked up on Google, right?
Do I think 60,000 thoughts a day? Yeah, I mean,
I'm
you're
just
always
connected.
thinking.
Just jump. Always think. You never
Yeah,
stop
yeah,
thinking. You can't
for
stop
sure.
thinking. Like, it's just your mind is going right. Would you like the lion's share of them to be positive,
Yeah,
or would you like them to be in your own head,
yeah.
negative, judgmental,
Anxious,
doubtful,
stressed.
stressed, anxious, or would you prefer? They're always going to be. There's always going to be negative emotions.
Yeah,
There's positive emotions, negatives. But would you like the majority of them to be better?
yeah. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
I know. So it's
Yeah,
like
it's a
you
no-brainer.
you are. That's the one thing that's like you're with your thoughts all the time, and it's
It's the
like
only thing you carry with you.
it's the only thing that you carry with you, and it's like, well, and people just don't get it, and it's like, what do you mean mindset? And you're like,
Mm,
what is there a fucking monkey slapping two
yeah.
symbols together in your
Mhm.
brain? Like
Yeah,
your thinking, like your thought process, like it's how you see the world. It's like you can change that.
totally.
You can change how you see yourself. You can change how you see other people. You can see how you can change how you see opportunity. You
Sure.
can change everything. Like, and that's some me and my friend were having this conversation recently, and I actually wrote a post that I'm going to post today. This was something I was doing a bit of deep work, like writing down like what my beliefs, like what is it that we stand for as a program. And one of the things is that I genuinely believe is that you can outwork anything. You can outwork a bad spell of mental health. You
Hmm.
can.
Yeah,
You can. Do you know what I mean? It's like people go on as if like you can, and it's like no, you can. You can outwork anything. You can outwork a breakup.
yeah,
You can outwork, and I'm not just talking about smashing yourself
yeah.
and burying yourself in work. I'm talking about actually pushing to try and break beyond a perceived limitation.
Everything is work.
Everything is work.
Yeah.
Everything, man, and it's
And
like,
work has a negative connotation
yeah,
because people think of work, business hours, lots of paper, lots of screen time. But like that's not actually the definition
of
of
work.
work.
Yeah,
Breath work. It's one
yeah,
of the greatest, most transformative things that
yeah.
you can bring into your life.
Mhm,
But it's work. It's
mhm,
working on the breath, transformative breath.
mhm.
Like work, dude. You need to work for anything in life.
I know.
But most people hear the word work and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I just don't have the time, effort, or energy for that."
I know. People just don't get it, and it's like I think that's a powerful thing. It's that you're going to go through spells where you are in amongst it, and you are maybe going through a hard time in your life, and you'll think this is never going to end. It is. You created it,
Yeah.
and let it, and
And then
people
you
like,
mention the word work to that person, and they're
oh
like, "I
nah,
just don't have time for that."
don't have time for that. And you're kind of like, and even like when people are like, but I didn't create it. It's like, oh, like my partner broke up with. It's like, but you created the relationship, and then the things that happen, it may be not with your control, but you still created it.
Hmm.
Just take ownership of it and
Yeah.
understand that, like, even though it's as hard as it is, it's like just keep going. Don't stop, man. Like
Yeah.
you're just like I explained this to a client recently, and I was like, life is like a thorn bush, right? And like you just need to keep plowing through it. See, when you plow through it, you get the thorns stab into you, right? They're jagging you. But what happens is your skin becomes calloused. It
Yeah.
toughens up,
Oof.
and the thorns still rub off you.
Yeah.
Occasionally, you might get one prick you.
Yeah.
But the reason why people are getting so hurt by life is because they keep stopping in the middle of the thorn
Yeah.
bush. Their skin gets
What
soft,
an
it
analogy.
gets tender, then they continue walking through and they go, this is sore. Then they stop again
What an analogy.
because they're not calloused.
Yeah.
I made that up.
Okay, Goggins.
It's good, isn't it?
that
It's good,
was
isn't it?
that was great,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. It's true though,
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
true.
Like it makes sense. It's like
It's
imagine
true.
this big,
It's conditioning.
yeah, it's conditioning. It's like people are like, no, but that's it. And I'm like, no, keep going.
Yeah,
Keep fucking going.
yeah.
Don't
Oh, it's
stop.
hard. Shame.
I know it's like, and I get that people are going through
Yeah.
tragic shit. Like, and you're like, but don't stop. I'm not saying that you need to be doing what
No
maybe
one's
you're at
telling you
like a
to go run
peak
a
flow.
marathon
Yeah,
every fucking week.
yeah. Like you don't have to be in like this peak flow state, but it's like just don't stop.
Yeah.
Because the minute you give up, man,
It's
it's the
gonna
beginning
start
of the end.
stinging again.
Yeah, it's gonna get really, really sore again, and it's something I was speaking about at an event recently, and I said, stop acting like you're going to quit.
Mm.
Like take it off the table.
Yeah.
Like people always talk about, oh, I'm going back to old ways. It's like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
What's an old way?
Mm.
You mean a lazy behavior? You mean something that isn't serving you? Something that you're getting short-term gratification for?
Mm.
That's not an old way. That's just a fucking lower standard opportunity that you keep
Yeah,
taking.
it's just a dopamine hit for like
Exactly,
3
mate. It's not
seconds.
an old way.
Yeah.
Keep going back to old ways. No, you're just choosing things that are giving you instant gratification more than the things that are actually giving you a longer term level of gratification. That's it.
Yeah, you need to have lived through it. That's a like annoying part, right? Is because I've been doing this now for like 10 years professionally, but I've been training and living and embodying this lifestyle for a long time. So for me, it's first nature, it's second nature, it's third nature. Like I can't, and even though I mentioned earlier to you, bro, like you know what, I don't really like drinking, but like once I have one or two tequilas, bro. I'm fucking down. Like I'm well down, bro. I'm
Me neither.
tequilas.
They'll give you a few tequilas when we go out for dinner.
Dude, I'm more than happy to smash a few taquitos because I also have self-control.
Yeah.
And I know when to kind of like just draw the line in the sand, you know. But, you know, it's because I've pushed through when I felt like quitting or when I felt it was hard or when I felt that like, dude, you and I share a very similar experience when it comes to prepping for a triathlon. That work is not easy. There's nothing easy about prepping for swim, cycle, run. There's nothing easy about that. And were there times where like, oh fuck, my back is a little bit sore. Yeah, I'm like 60K into the cycle, like, or it would be nice to just like take a few minutes to chill, or like, well, no, because that's not part of the process. The process that you need to finish the distance, the process that you need to actually like keep moving through. Because what happens when you have to essentially rock up on the day and you need to do that race? You're going to stop at 60K? No, you know that on that day you're going to have to go the full mile. And so by that time, you're going to wish that you had not stopped, felt those little stings along the way, but you have to keep moving. It's conditioning, it's callousing, and it's essentially non-negotiable when you are looking to really level yourself up.
That's why we have perform the block in the middle,
Yeah.
because it's like every time someone comes off a perform block, they do their first big event. I'm not just talking, and it's different to every individual. Someone's went from like they've never ran the life, they've been really overweight. That first 5K is their Everest.
Yeah.
But like when someone goes through maybe something that takes like 16 weeks of preparation,
Yeah.
like that unlocks unheralded levels of belief in yourself, man. Like see like those sessions you were talking about, man, that gives you an edge that no one can take away from you. That
Yeah.
you've got in your locker forever. That you can go back into and you're like, right, you fucking done this.
Yeah.
So you can do that. And I've had that conversation myself so many times, like when I was doing my first Ironman or when I was doing the Keltman or do you know what I mean, like, or when I was going for like a PB effort. It's like if you can't do like this training session today, how the fuck are you going to do
Yeah.
that? Like if you're tired, like I get there's going to be some times where there was a, you know, it's like when you're redlining and you're in the shit and you're like, I'm well not recovered right now.
Yeah.
By all means, take a session out, pull back, don't do as much.
Yeah.
But those ones that you're just tired, fatigued, and it's your mind, it's like if you don't push through that, you're not going to be able to do it on the day.
Yeah.
You're gonna, and it's, I see it now, and it's like, and I'm not slandering anyone that does these things, but so many folk half-arse things now, and I get like it's something I go big on inside of the program. It's like there's certain things that you can hide from and you can't hide from. But even when I've done the marathon, like I've done a couple of marathons now, but like when I've done a marathon, anytime I get to that point where it's like mile 20, like mile 18 to mile 21, you start seeing people stop, right? But what you notice, and this is the big part, Damien, it's like I was tired, right? And I was in Manchester Marathon earlier this year, and I hadn't really trained for it. I was training for it during Keltman prep, but I hadn't really specifically done marathon training. Like, and ran a really good run that day as well, which was good. But like I was going along and I was pushing along and I was getting to that 18, 19 mile point and I watched someone stop And see, within literally 10 seconds, mate, several other people stopped.
Yeah.
It was the out.
Yeah.
It was the out they were looking for.
Yeah.
And see the ones that stopped, right? And the ones that didn't need to stop,
I've
but stopped.
experienced this. Yeah.
They probably, there was a lot of doubt there, and you have to go through this, right? But see, a lot of them, they probably missed their key sessions that they should have learned that in,
Mhm.
but they didn't do it. So they didn't know how to break beyond that barrier.
Yeah.
And that's what training does.
It's conditioning.
It's conditioning. It's not just physiological conditioning, it's
Mhm.
psychological conditioning.
Mhm.
And see, when I see shit like that, mate, I get like high on it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not fucking stopping.
I knew I did the work.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like I must have been like 36 Ks in Lisbon, and that's where you start to see this one's crying on the side because they're cramping.
Yeah.
Then there's someone else that's stretching them out. Then all of a sudden there's an ambulance that goes
Yeah.
past. You see someone's rolled their ankle.
Mhm.
You know, you just see people that are just walking with their head down
Mhm.
in like sheer pain and disappointment. I looked around at all of this and I was like, I'm not stopping.
Yeah.
I was like, there's not a fuck. I'm joining you guys here
yeah.
because I've done the work.
Yeah.
And I'm in a huge amount of pain right now. Sure,
Yeah.
my ankles, my knees, my hips, my lower back, you know, yeah, it really, really sucks. But I've conditioned myself to this.
Yeah.
I've conditioned myself to go just past this.
Yeah.
And, you know, just past this is 1 kilometer ahead. Then I need to get to that point, knowing that I just need to get to the next
Yeah.
kilometer. But some people say, you know what, I just can't go another K. Or from a mental perspective, I can't go another K. Or physically, they've not done the work.
Mhm.
And this is where, like, I use that as my motivation to, dude, don't be like them.
Mhm.
Don't be
Mhm.
like them. Don't be that person that's lying on the floor with 5 people around them trying to fan them, make them feel better. That's not going to make you feel better. What's going to make you feel better is getting across the finish line.
Mhm. And there is, and that's not like, I know me and Damien are saying this right now. It's not a personal attack on anyone.
It's
that's had
not a
bad
personal
day,
attack on anyone.
because it's like
Injuries can happen.
injuries can happen.
Yeah.
Poor nutrition protocols, like
100%.
accidentally dehydration, these
Dude,
things.
even the best athletes
Exactly.
get some of the stuff wrong.
But you know when someone's not been doing the work.
Yeah.
You know that, like,
This is it.
and I remember running at that point, just being like, I'm not fucking doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not. And as you said,
Yeah.
I was in a world of pain. I was
You
like,
you shouldn't be running into problems
Yeah.
25K in
Yeah.
to a 42K run.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
You should start to maybe feel a little bit of fatigue,
Mhm.
but if you're walking
Mhm.
at 25K, you fucked up.
Yeah. Big
That's
time.
it.
Big time, man.
And people say, look, it's about participation, 100%,
Mhm.
but then like that's what you've entered it
And you
for.
like uncover it, and you're like, you realize that they've done one big run,
This is it.
6 weeks of
Yeah.
training. You're like, it's about partaking, but like, why do it half baked?
Yeah.
And they give themselves such a bad experience of the full thing. And
Yeah.
but see, at the same time, you have to do that to sometimes have the realization
Yeah.
to then unlock. But I can guarantee you, out of let's imagine at the Lisbon Marathon, out of everyone that participated, 50% didn't do the work properly.
Mhm.
Within that 50%, it's not going to be all of them that take that as a valuable lesson. It's going to be such a small percentage.
Yeah.
The majority are going to go, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
Because they're going to just base that feeling of how
I'd
they
say
done
probably
it.
about like 10% of
Yeah.
that 15% max.
Yeah, yeah. It's
you
going to
know?
be like a small percentage of people that are actually like, oh, that was a big slice of humble pie. I'm going to go and do the work better this
Yeah.
time. Most folk, because we live in a people that there's a lack of personal responsibility, will just go, I can't run.
Yeah.
I done that before, it was awful. It's like, no, your training was awful.
Yeah.
Like
I
your
did.
your training was awful, and that's why you found it awful.
I did I did a double marathon about a month ago. I did a 24-hour lapathon.
Oh, I seen
And
that,
this
yeah.
was to raise money towards mental health and mental health awareness in Indonesia. And this was a 24-hour thing. You weren't obligated to do 10K. You could have just gone and ran 5K or 1K. You could have walked. Like, it was really just about community supporting the
Yeah.
cause. But, you know, I did a 42K. I've done a full marathon. I thought, like, okay, you can double that. That's the goal. You can double that. So then I arrived there on the day. And one thing that I'd completely like not realized was that this lapathon, was a lapathon. So you were going in circles, right?
Oh, dear.
Oh dear, dude. On a soccer field. So it's not a massive track, dude. It's not even a track.
Mhm.
That's the thing. It's a man-made. It's on grass. Actually, the whole thing was on grass. So for 24 hours, I had to run on grass in a circular motion. Okay, and there were times where I did 15K, and I was like, oh, you know what, geez, the ground's a little bit uneven here. My ankles are a little bit sore, you know. Then I took a break, ran another 10K. Now I'm 42K in after a couple hours. And I was like, you know what, actually, strategically, just going to sit out for a few hours, like really let the body recover. Dude, you know how hot Bali is, how humid it is here. This is not the place to like go run for 24 fucking hours.
Yeah.
It's hot. Even at 1 o'clock in the morning, it's still 25, 26, 27. Um, and there were times where I started to talk myself out of it,
Mhm.
where I was like, oh, yeah, but dude, the fact that there's no obligation to be running for 24 hours, no one's putting a gun to your head to keep doing this. You can go take a few hours out. Bro, I got home and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to actually catch up on like 3 hours of sleep because 24 hours of running, it's a long time. And so that was 42K in. I woke up at 3 o'clock the next morning and I was like, great, now go run the other 42. When I got onto that field, I was so disappointed with myself for taking that 3 hours out
Yeah.
because I knew that there was an opportunity. I didn't need the sleep.
Mhm.
That's the thing, bro. You can run on 2 days of no sleep
Yeah.
with athletic performance if you fueled up correctly,
Yeah.
if you're conditioned
Yeah.
correctly. But there was just parts of me that were like, just take a break, just take a break.
Yeah.
There's a little monkey on my shoulder. Just take a little break, buddy. You need some sleep, you know? And then I went and took that sleep and like I woke up and I was like, fuck, dude, it was just 3 hours.
Mhm.
How much rest did you really get from that, you
Mhm.
know? And so, anyways, I ended up running the double marathon. I did 84K
Wow.
in the 24 hours. I mean, dude, there's guys that run 150 in that time. The guy that organized the event, Jack, he did, I think it was 170K in 24 hours
What the fuck?
in circular motion on a soccer field. Dude, when I got there at 3 o'clock in the morning, this man was still running. Man was still running. When I sat down for 5 minutes, he was still running. I'm just like, and then they obviously announced at the end what his total distance was. And I'm just like, 160 or 170 Ks in 24 hours is firstly fucking nuts, just by virtue of the distance itself within that time frame. The fact that it's also in one go and it's on a soccer field, like major amounts of respect to that guy.
Mhm.
Because honestly, like
That's
that's
mental resilience.
so, you know, here's me then taking that 3 hour break. And I honestly was just like, fuck, you know, like, did you really need that? So
Yeah.
now I know what my benchmark is for next year.
Mhm.
Don't take that break.
Your body, your mind makes such a compelling argument when you're under stress. Like it
Hmm.
goes back to like the fight or flight thing. Like we're here for two reasons basically: to survive and reproduce. So like when you're under threat, like it's not getting eaten by a lion now. It's like, oh, you're tired, Damien. Chill out. Go and take rest. You don't
Yeah.
need rest, and it'll adapt to that situation. Like, oh, you've got that opportunity to go and do that thing. Well, what with that coach? No, don't do that right now. You don't need that. You've got
Yeah.
that's coming up. So that's your reason not to do it.
Mm.
The compelling argument comes in all different shapes and
It's the
forms.
monkey on your shoulder.
That's the monkey on your shoulder. It's just telling you what to do. It's just like do this, and it's like just fear. It's just keeping you safe, keeping you out of threat.
Fight or flight.
Yeah, that's it, man. It just goes back to that.
For sure, dude. Bro, I want to ask you one question. I ask everyone this when they come on the podcast is, you know, what would be your definition of peak performance?
I would say I'd have to coin it and say the point I was talking about at the top, but I think peak performance, like from a physiological standpoint, is definitely like the ability to recover, the ability to have robustness within your physique, your performance, and what you do. Because I look back in recent years, and I've never felt fit in my life. Like right now, my recoveries, maybe not this week. I felt quite ropey this week with jet lag and stuff. But like my ability to recover for things, like even if I do like a big session or like I'm sore, but the next day I'm like, that was a ridiculous
Mhm.
session I done, and I'm like, how am I even able to run, like walk today? Never mind
Sure,
do this run right now.
sure.
So like it's the level of physical robustness that comes, and I call it farmer work capacity. So it's like you've just got this like crazy
Right.
capacity to recover. I think that is like peak physical performance, and peak mental performance is like from a sort of performance standpoint, training standpoint, it's like your ability to talk yourself out of the monkey in your shoulder,
Hmm.
quiet, silence it. I would say
Sure.
that's probably a good way to say it. Like you're so aware of when you're going through something shit, because people would think peak performance is like, oh, like you're in this state of flow and like nothing can affect you. It's like no, you still get negative emotions.
Sure.
You just know how to react to them really, really well.
Resilience.
Resilience, that's it.
Yeah.
It's something that Ross Edgell says is resilience is awareness of your suffering.
Yeah. That's right.
So you just go like, right, I'm suffering right now. Why? Right. Even like last night when I said I had that conversation with you, and I was like, oh man, there's a lot I need to do here. I need to change this, and I'm doing this and focusing this way. And I was like, right, okay, spoke to Ellie about it. You're doing that thing right now that clients do when you tell them to speak to someone else and not. And then
Yeah.
within like 5 minutes, I was like in a better state.
Sure.
Still had that 5 minutes downtime, like that low point, but then there's like this. People just let that go on for fucking days,
Yeah.
weeks,
Yeah.
months. And that is, to me, that's what peak mental performance is like being able to just be like, you're doing that thing right now.
Yeah.
Go and do some more of that. Go and do a little less of that. You know what I mean?
Sure. Dude, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Been awesome,
I
mate.
think for anyone who's listening who wants to get in touch with you, find out a little bit more about, your program and what you offer, where can the listeners obviously find you?
So you can find me on Instagram's like my main sort of page. I post on Facebook. I don't post on LinkedIn. I've got a LinkedIn account.
All right.
So kdh.readyforanything on Instagram. I've got a podcast as well, the Ready for Anything podcast. You can find that on all platforms. I've got YouTube as well, which is the Kristian Hill 1, I believe it is. I need to change that. Like that was like an old name, but my YouTube's actually going quite well right now. So
Right.
I need to push on that. But yeah, and then I'm actually buying a new web domain right now. So
Brilliant.
I'm not going to plug you in my old website. It's going to be Ready for Anything. So you'll find it on there. But
Great.
yeah, so pretty much type in Ready for Anything to most platforms, KDH Christian, and it'll come up.
Champion.
Yeah, man.
Dude, thank you so much
Nah,
once
mate.
again.
Thanks, bro.
Really, really appreciate it. Guys and girls, thank you so much for taking the time, effort to listen to this episode, and we will see you on the next one.